a classroom. Of a farm can be a classroom. So that's how Indian multiversities also came up, ecoversities at a world forum. And the first series which we held was the Farmversities. We had a whole webinar series on Farmversities, and then we chose water because we feel that water is a very sacred and powerful element through which we can learn a lot in different ways. So the first of the series, we had a discussion with Rajendra Singh, who's worked quite a lot on water and considered as Waterman of India. We had a lovely session with him. I'll share, if you want, we can share the recording with you, the entire send the snippets. And then the second panel, we were talking about the river journeys people undertake. So I myself do the Ganga, the river yatras. So I've done Ganga, Narmada, Kaveri, and some others. Then we had Nitin, then we had Sujit with us, who does annual pilgrimage. He's based in Italy. And then we had Gopal, who does Ganga Padyatra. So it was very interesting to connect those. And now the third session, which we are hosting today, is all about art and culture and the rituals around the water and how each one of us have designed our path in that way. So the focus will be that. And we all want to know your inspiring stories, the journey which brought you till here, what inspired you in all this. So we can go with that round, and then we can, I think it's very interesting and it's very effective if we have some examples to share from our journeys, some transformations which we have been able to make or in process, or even a simple story, because we feel that, simple stories, I mean, we don't call it as transform, but they can change a life also. So it would be interesting to have the examples when you're sharing that. And at the end, we want to give the audience at least 15 minutes time, that if they have some specific question or a query, or they want to share something with us, then we are able to do that. So this is the flow which we will keep in today's webinar.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll wait for some more time, and people will join. Indian Standard Time, sorry.
And also, like, just give us a prompt, just in case if you're like speaking, because I have the tendency to go on, and sometimes I just need a prompt. Yeah.
Sure, we'll ping you.
Lost to share, like I don't know where to stop. So
No, I know it's very difficult. I mean, everybody was saying, like, define how many minutes and all. I said it's impossible when a person is speaking from the heart. It's so difficult for me to say to somebody, okay, no, I mean, we have to move, we are short of time.
yeah.
So
this is a different kind. So usually, like,
yes.
it's always given that slot, right? So we are used to that.
Yes, so that's why we would like to go with the flow, but we can take 10 minutes more of the time at the end and wind up with that. So I'll just check who else. Kalashri, you are there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Will Manish join?
I don't know.
Okay.
Should I check with him?
Yeah, check now. It would be nice to have him.
Yeah.
Yeah, with unschoolers. Oh my God, Manish Jain, right? My God,
Yeah.
I'm meeting him after so long. If it is Manish Jain.
Yeah. It's Manish Jain.
Oh my God, it is. Yeah.
Anjali ji, you have not met Manish yet.
No, not yet.
We will meet soon. So you're right now based in Delhi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Delhi,
How's the
Delhi.
weather there right now? Is it very cold?
It's very cold. I mean, it's cold at night. During the day, it's fine.
Okay.
20 in the day, but night is about 6.
Oh, okay.
6 is cold.
Yeah. I was speaking to my parents in Dehradun. She was like, it was 7. I spoke with them last week. So
Dehradun is colder.
yeah, but Bhopal, my partner lives there. It's 3. It was
really?
3. Yes, it was 3. It's quite cold there. But we have Minkit living at the coldest of the spot right now.
Yeah.
It's
It's like
-9 right now there.
yeah, and it feels like -23. So I didn't know like there is like -9 and there's something like feeling like. So sometimes you wear clothes and then by the time you're out, you're again inside to wear another clothes. So
But does -9 and -20 make a difference?
yeah, it does because you are like the wind, it makes a lot of difference with the wind and like especially
Sehingga hari ini mungkin dengan melihat lintas batas atau gimana, menurutku ya akhirnya Mas Grim memahaminya mungkin segitu bahasanya gitu. Nah, menurutku ini
yeah, but that's about the weather.
Okay. Any rivers nearby you, frozen rivers?
Oh yeah, many. There is a Red River and there is a like we have also like the Lake Winnipeg. I mean, Canada is known for having so many islands, like literally.
Hmm.
So I'm in the middle of near or surrounded by water, let's put it that way. So we
Okay.
have Assiniboine River and Red River, and there's a beautiful confluence. It reminds me of Batista because, like olden times, the indigenous people here used to actually have a lot of trade, but also like the ceremonies around that confluence. And even in India, confluences are so sacred for us, right?
Yes.
So yeah, beautiful. Frozen river and a lot of like ice skating, stuff like that. And learning the ways of snow here is very interesting because even in Darjeeling, the snowfall has stopped decreasing. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen the way it used to happen. But yeah,
That's climate change for you.
yeah, totally.
Hmm.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, there are extreme weather, what we are witnessing, no?
Hmm.
So,
Extreme cold, extreme heat.
yes. We just, this is our monsoon time we get the retreating monsoon here
Hmm.
in Pondicherry. So it basically starts at the end of October and lasts till mid of December. This would be ending. And
Hmm.
this year we didn't had much of rains, but last 2 weeks back, the cyclone which came, one day 50 mm of rainfall altogether.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, the city doesn't have the capacity to hold that much of water. So, I mean, we were not affected so much. Auroville being a very natural habitation is there. So, we are able to absorb the water. But Pondicherry town, yeah, I mean, it's quite was submerged. The
Hmm.
cars were floating. It was similar like how Chennai was affected in
Hmm.
2014. So, yeah, we see these extreme weather conditions, cloud bursts happening all of a sudden,
Hmm.
or floods coming, or the cyclones. It's interesting what we are witnessing. I mean, look how Uttarakhand has changed. So
Yeah. So much.
yeah.
Is Reep there? Reep?
Yes, I'm here, ma'am. Nice
Hi.
to meet you.
Hi, Reep.
I just wanted to chime in terms of how all these rains, the fact that we keep concretizing everything and not keeping the natural waterways, and then there were civilizations which had good water sewerage system and all of that, and we still didn't learn from it. And here we are in Sikkim having flash floods, and even any of the metropolitan cities, as soon as there's rain, there's going to be the cities, so-called smart cities, are all flooded. So I'm not sure
Mhm.
whether we are smart at all,
I
despite the fact
know.
we have
That,
civilizations prior to this who have actually found the ways and means of doing things correctly. Despite that, we have a lot of unlearning to do, I think.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
We
need.
are with the right people, I say. They've been doing a lot of work with unschooling and unlearning.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, that's why for me, when I say like, oh, like the time frame does not really is understood, especially in unschooling. So it's good.
Okay, so I think we should start at 7:10 and we can
Huh?
people.
সকালে নাস্তাতে কি খাবে? পোহা বানিয়ে দাও একটু। থ্যাংক ইউ বাবা। একটু মটর দিবে পোহায়।
Vijayalakshmi ji, can you please mute your microphone? Though we
Sorry,
would love
sorry.
to join the dinner with you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Vijayalakshmi is joined. है ना?
Yeah, but okay, I think she by mistake must have left the meeting. She'll join again.
Acha.
Okay. So Kalashri, let's see if Manish joins or not, but
Yeah,
we
I've
can
sent
start
a
now.
message
Yeah.
on the group, and I don't know. I don't know whether he'll join, but
It's okay. I think we can start. It's already 7:07
yeah,
now.
yeah, I
So,
think we should start because there will be a time crunch also, no, with the speakers.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, you can ask Vijay Lakshmi to join again. I think she
Yeah.
clicked the leave button rather than muting the microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you ask her to join again?
I don't have her contact.
Oh, she's
Acha.
joined.
She's joined.
She's back. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so here we are with the third webinar of the series on water, and we welcome all our participants and the panelists. We have amazing lineup of panelists. We have Blaze, we have Dr. Anjali, we have Minkit, we have Reep. They can introduce. I'm sure you must have read their profiles, but they are doing amazing work around water, rivers, indigenous knowledge through art, through workshops, through culturally documenting the songs sung along the river. And the whole idea of having this webinar is this, that we are trying to learn from different people around the world who are doing amazing work, which we don't get to see in the very mainstream domain. It's not just confined to the classroom and the textbook, but they are engaged with the communities. They're engaged in the nature. They're engaged with individuals to bring out the best and the what we have, what we can learn, and also unlearn over the period of time. I think this society, um, by living in this entire social fabric, a layer of unlearning has to be done, because layer and layer of conditioning is put on us, that which is not very great all the time. And a lot of fears, actually, I would say that, when an individual is born, when a child is born, it's like fearless. She's fearless. But when we start interacting in this community, thanks to all the people around us, and known and unknown in ways, these fears are put upon us, fear of not being good enough, fear of being judged, fear of being ridiculed, fear of being left alone. And then most of the time we start operating from these fear spaces, and we realize that the spark which each one of us has, that light which each one of us has, I remember in last webinar, Sujit was mentioning Sachidanand, that Chetana, which we have, somewhere gets a layer of dust covers it up. So the whole idea is to uncover that layer, peel off those dust layers, and we bring that Chetna out, the consciousness out among all of us. So we are here to listen to your inspiring stories. What motivated you to take this path, take this journey in your life? And so we'll be talking about that. So I think we can go one by one, as we have limited time slot and we have amazing speakers. I would take very little time and I would leave it to the panelists to engage among themselves. I'll just keep giving the prompts. So maybe we can start with Anjali ji. To
Okay.
start with your journey, and we'll just try to keep around, let's say, 5 minutes for giving us your life journey, and then we come for the second round.
Okay.
All
Thank
yours,
you.
Anjali ji. Yeah.
Thank you. So it's wonderful to be here and to meet my fellow panelists and all the participants. And I'm so excited to share my journey. So for my PhD, I looked at the folk songs of the women of the mountains of the Garhwal Himalayas, because I did not want to just look at, television and the media that proliferate the urban lifestyle. So I wanted to understand how people communicate through songs And my first work is focused on looking at women's lives through their songs and understanding a culture through the Himalayan women's songs. So what I did is I went to Kedarnath and Badrinath, and there I saw two women cutting fuel wood and grass on the hillside, and they were singing from one hill to the other. I'm just going to sing that song to you. Tum bin Swami patmari jalyo gehri kadnyuma son kuredi purpur andi uchi nichi dandyuma tum bin Swami patmari jalyo gehri kadnyuma. So I heard this sound and I was just riveted when the women were coming down the hill with their heavy head loads. I asked one of them, I said, your song was so beautiful. The whole Himalayas were reverberating with your voice. What were you singing about? Now she was tired and she looked at me and she said in Garhwali, what do you have to do with my song? And I was so taken aback, because I just thought to myself how right she is. We come to an environment as a tourist and we ask them, oh, what a lovely song, how pretty your dress is, and all. Do we really know anything about their lives? And that day I made a pledge that I would study the lives of the women of the Himalayas through their songs. And that was my PhD. I'm not going to talk about that today because I collected 150 songs over 3 years. And they are available in my first book. Kala Kala has written the name of that book, Images of Women in the Folk Songs of Garhwal Himalayas. So after that, I retired in 2015 from the Lady Irwin College, where I was a professor in development communication. And then one night in the summer of 2017, I had a dream and a goddess-like figure was appearing out of the river. The river was flowing and a goddess-like figure, she's all dressed in white, beautiful, ephemeral, nymph-like. She comes out of the river and says, Anjali, just like you listen to the songs of the women of the mountains, listen to my songs. I too sing. I too have a song. And it was so beautiful. I got up in bed and I was wondering who she is. And suddenly she disappears. I too listen to my songs too. I too sing. I too have a song. And the river was the Ganga. So the next day, I put pen to paper and I wrote a proposal to understand the songs of the river, of the Himalayan river, from Gangotri to Haridwar, which is 350 kilometers. I did not do the whole Ganga. I mean, I would love to do it, but I just focused. You have to focus on one aspect first. So I studied the Himalayan Ganga from Gangotri to Haridwar. And for me, the whole journey was a sacred journey. It began and I was inspired by this beautiful dream. And I started my work at Gangotri. I don't know if you all know that the temple town of Gangotri is located at a height of 10,000 feet, while Gaumukh is the source of the Mother Ganga, the cow's mouth. She comes down to Gangotri, where her temple is located, and she stays in Gangotri for 6 months. And when the snow comes, she's moved to her natal home, which is her home where she was born, to Mukhwa. So I have lots of beautiful stories about my journey. Maybe I will continue if I get more time later. But this is what inspired me. The dream inspired me. And sometimes I don't know if you believe that dreams can become a passion. For me, this was a transformative journey. I was already transformed by my work with the women's songs in the Himalayas. But this was surely a moment of great transformation, and it altered my life in more ways than one. So
What a sacred journey. But can I ask, what age were you when you witnessed this?
69. So
Wow.
it also defies age, because
Amazing.
when I went to the temple and I prayed in front of Ma Ganga, in front of her image, the priest was, saying to me that you have set out on a long journey. May she help you to accomplish whatever you have set out on. And he blessed me with a beautiful red veil, which he had taken out from the mother's image. And he put it around me. And he said that the mother herself is blessing you. So when I came out, I did a circumambulation of the temple. And when I came out, there were many people standing in line to have her darshan. And they started touching my feet. You will not believe this. They started touching my feet. And the priest of the Gangotri temple, Ashok Sembal, he was standing next to me. And I got a little upset. I said, please, what are you doing? I'm nobody. Don't touch my feet. I am nobody. And then, he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, Anjali ji, at this moment, because you have been blessed by the mother, they see you as the embodiment of the divine. You have become a channel. I mean, it is to understand this level of consciousness, it was such an amazing moment. I didn't know where I was and who I was. You begin to lose your identity as the human person who is doing this ethnographic research and who has set up. You suddenly transform and become something else. And it was just an amazing moment for me, because can you imagine, he said that they see you as the embodiment because you have been blessed by her. I was wearing the red veil. It's a lovely picture. I can share it with you all if you would like to have it or see it in the book. So I have many stories like this. I would love to continue, but I'd let the others talk about what inspired them, and then we'll come back again.
Thank you. Thank you for that's a deep sharing. I got goosebumps when you were saying. It's very beautiful. Thank you. Let's move on, Blaze.
All right. So thank you, Anita and Kalashri, for inviting me to this. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I am from Kerala, and I'm an artist by practice, a visual artist, but for the past several years, maybe 17 years, I've been into community arts practice and art education, working with various communities around the country, engaging with people who are either denied or who have been deprived of the opportunity to explore the creative possibilities in themselves. So I've been looking at creative expression as a fundamental need and right of every person. So I conduct art workshops and projects with various communities as learning communities. And the objective of the practice is to create non-competitive, non-judgmental, fearless, creative and collaborative spaces within communities. So in that process, looking at one's own immediate context, natural context, natural ecosystem is very essential part of the process. And over the years, I have actually, at the age of 18, I left Kerala and went to Patna to join the Jesuits in the Patna province. And I was in Patna in Bihar for 17 years or 16 years as a Jesuit. And then I discontinued. So in that process, I have been away from my own context, the context in which I grew up. And in my practice, I felt the need to get back to my own, reconnect with my own context as well. And in fact, in 2014, when I went back after many years, the river, my home is my land is connected to a river. It's called Venpura. And my early days, up to the age of 18, river was an essential part of my everydayness. I mean, I must have spent, I would visit the river at least 3 times a day for all my basic needs, like brushing teeth and bathing and washing clothes, or even just to relax, or even during study leave and all, I would sit at the river and peacefully prepare for exams. And things have changed. The beautiful river was no more the same river. And many locations that I had vivid memories of are no more the same. And in 2016, my partner also told me, Blaze, you should actually address this as an important aspect of your practice. And then I walked through the river in summer for 3 kilometers, and nowhere the water level was above my knee. Okay, so that was shocking. And then the river was was shallow. The diversity of fishes disappeared, and it was slightly dirty. Also, the water was dirty. I looked at the river in my childhood as a learning space, as a school, in fact. That's where actually we had four neighbors. So the children of all the four families used to come together and spend a lot of time in different seasons in different ways, fishing and rafting and playing different kinds of games and all kinds of things, So that was like a school actually, and that's where we built up friendship also. The river was the embodiment of all that. And that changed. And then I walked into houses of people and started asking what happened. When I was in Kerala, most of the houses do not have attached bathrooms, and because it was not necessary, however rich you made along the river particular. But maybe in the 90s onwards, houses have most people demolished the old houses and built new houses with attached bathrooms. And so the people's relationship with the river also started decreasing. And then things have changed. So I started documenting people's memories. I walked into houses, most of them were not known to me also because I was away from home for so many years. And we started talking about the river. What happened? What's this disconnect with the river? And it was fascinating for me to get into people's lives and unfold these stories, memories. And I started I started documenting all kinds of stories. And then it was no more about just the river, just that Vembuja. It was about various other things, the streams that join the river, the agricultural framework which has changed, the rivers out beyond my locality, so many other, because Kerala has got so many rivers. And then these stories also, these explorations also took me to Narmada Bachao Andolan. In 2017, I was there with my collaborator. We were 24 days, we were documenting people's memories. Then also other rivers in Kerala itself. Then another movement called Kandangali, which won a case against the current regime in the center. So it's like it opened up new avenues, and it also was a process of documenting profiles of significant and insignificant people. A lot of people whom I never would have probably interacted with, even in my own hometown, because of the economic disparity or caste and all that. I started discovering new people and the new stories, new profiles of people. That also reconnected me to my own ancestral homeland. So I started getting back to cultivation. The soil became an significant aspect of my art practice. So I have at least 5 to 7 shades of soil from my own farm, which I use for painting. So I've moved away from synthetic, chemical colors to, because I've been introducing soil colors or natural colors as an essential part of my workshops. For anybody, it was essential for moving to the next activity. So then it's like, it also took me to, and also soil is something, an element which contains memories of probably a river which I can actually carry and then transfer to another platform or surface. So wherever I talk to people, if people are talking about river, I would also collect soil from that region and then use that as a beginning also. And then I named that whole process as Puzha Olgatte, let the river flow. Let the river flow. In Malayalam, Puzha Olgatte. And I made 3 posters, handmade, because I'm not reading digital platform. So I made hand with black and white, like or pen on paper. printed, and then whomever I interview, I give these 3 posters to them. They're supposed to paste it either on their inside the house or on the wall of their boundary wall of their house, take a photographs and share it with me. So that it spread. And in my own land, people are threatened also, because there are many people who have acquired illegally the land of the river, and people have said that this fellow is mad or what? I mean, what is he doing? So then the COVID came, and now I've restarted the whole process. And recently I was in a art residence in Italy, and there were people from various parts of the world. So my project was actually taking this to that platform and then interviewing people, the co-fellows also. We were 15 of us. So different kinds of memories from different regions. Very different kinds of, like I had one friend from Italy, but he's basically a Rwandan. And at the age of 6, he had to run away from his home because of the genocide. And his memories about the river was just dead bodies floating in the river. For a Nigerian writer, her memory about the one river is through her father. It's about slave trade. So all kinds of memories. And so probably the river has become a metaphor that connects all of us in
Together.
layers and layers and layers. So it's actually an ongoing process for me now. And I think it will take me to different kinds of journeys. Yeah, that's what, right now, that's what I would like to say.
Thanks, please. That's very powerful and touching. And I'm sure it will flow more.
Let the river flow.
Yes, let the river flow. Wow. Yes. Minkit?
Yeah, I'm just so amazed by such beautiful stories already, and just feel like sometimes you feel like you're not alone, because working with the river is quite a lonely journey, especially because as an entity we have like forgotten river in many ways. It's just become like a crossing the bridge and you just look at something which is floating. And so yeah, so for me, like just to kind of give my positionality as a person also, like I'm an urban indigenous person from like, in Canada, I learned like we cannot just use the word indigenous, but also kind of define where are you indigenous to. So like indigenous to Sikkim and Darjeeling. And my journey with the river and where I come from is kind of like, I don't know, it's very I was like born and brought up in Darjeeling, but never like really been associated with river because river bodies are quite far away. Darjeeling is a very colonized place, a lot of tea gardens, and so for me, the whole idea of river came with the dam protest that was happening with our community, especially in Sikkim, Zongu in around 2000, 2007, 8. I was in Delhi then. I was working in an advertising company, and so there were a lot of these pamphlets then. There was not social media was not very high, so they were sharing these pamphlets about how like there is a dam coming up to a holy land, which Lepcha's holy land. And for me, for the first time, I was hearing a holy land for Lepchas, and I was like, I've heard of Jerusalem, I've heard of different holy lands, but Lepcha also has a holy land. I have no idea because I I was never brought in that environment, right? So, like I said, I was urban, and Darjeeling is I would consider town, but it's like really detached from culture. So when I was in Delhi, I came to know about this, and there were a lot of pamphlets, and I was very curious as to what is this holy land all about, and that really kind of gave me like it was like a very different worldview because and they came a lot of my friends and brothers and sisters like Getso Lepcha, Chitin Lepcha, they all had come to Jantar Mantar in Delhi, and they was like, well, why don't you just join them and just see what is it about. And also I went there and I for the first time I saw my own people in their traditional dress, which I was not really acquainted with. And they were singing lecture songs. They were talking about, this is our holy land, like, so this is somewhere our sacred spaces. So these languages was very different for me. And for the first time, I was experiencing them and really, really confused also, because at that moment it was like me trying to understand who am I, because for me lecture was just a surname, and it didn't make any sense that time. And I was trying to earn money in advertising and like studying in Delhi. But I guess when I was getting this news about Dawa lecture and Tenzing, this two duo, like they're my, like almost like my friend and brothers. So there was this update, like they were on a hunger strike for so many days, and they were on saline, and they were almost like giving up on their life because they didn't want to have this, like the Panang project was something, and stage 4 is what they're still fighting for. And they really was like really, really fighting against it. And I was really concerned about their health, and I was getting these updates, and there were times, I think for 3 nights I couldn't sleep. And 3 nights, I all of a sudden I started crying. And this whole idea of like, what am I doing in Delhi? Like, they're my like brothers and friends who are actually fighting for something, and I have no idea who am I, what am I about, and all that thing that came about. And it was very like it really affected me. And eventually in 2012, I really quit my advertising job, and I went back to Darjeeling. And I was supposed to say, but during that time, I kept going to Himachal and Uttaranchal, trying to understand what was I feeling, what did I feel. But I guess traveling alone, it is a very, very, it's a self-discovery, but then sometimes you always would want to go back where you belong, right? So I really did go back in 2012 back home. And then I said, I'm going to sit for government exam. I'm going to quit advertising. That's what I told my sister. And by the time I reached, I landed up in Zongu, which is where most of my friends, like most of my brothers, they all are like from there. And I started documenting stories and folklore from the elders. And that is through Acoustic Traditional. There was an organization, and I started documenting stories on Yeti. So there was one shaman I got in touch with, and his name was uh, I'm forgetting. It's Merrick Lepcha. And so he was the one who actually kind of gave me a different worldview about Yeti stories, because every time I used to hear that Yeti is a abominable snowman and it's a monster for us. But I think he kind of gave me this whole idea of like, it's like a hunter god for us. And they are the ones who shapes and protects the mountains. And the river Tista is a sister to the Yeti, and Ginger is a brother. And I guess I was never taught that way, right? And it really amazed me. And I documented few stories there, and I started reflecting on my connection with my own community and the land. And eventually they were doing a lot of these storytelling sessions. My interaction with the children came in. But like working with the NGO sometimes is not self-sustainable. So that really kind of helped. I had to really kind of find a way to really sustain myself, because I had quit my advertising job and everything that was supposed to be lucrative economically. And then I started working in a small store like called Life and Leaf in Darjeeling, where they had a lot of these products which was handmade and small farmers. And that really inspired me. And as I was selling those products, I think the stories that I documented when I was in Sikkim kind of really brought the essence to the products. And there were times when people would just listen to the story, and sometimes I would forget to like even charge money, because I would just get into this whole idea of sharing stories about the product, the place, the artisans. And Darjeeling is a contentious place, right? So like there's a lot of political turmoil. So there's a lot of strikes. They have 40 days of strikes that keeps happening and all that. So that store did not really like, it was really almost like 40,000 during that time in 2013, 14, like to pay a rent of 40,000 and to have 2 months of strike. It was really difficult for me. So I quit that. I mean, I didn't quit, but like, I had to let go of that. And then I started teaching. And then that is a time when these stories made so much sense for me because I also realized that the education system that the books that I'm teaching children did not have anything about local landscapes, did not have anything about the local rivers, right? So that really, I was feeling that, but I was also kind of trying to find out how I can teach that. And I think it was in 2015 I got an opportunity to make the film on the River Tista. And I was really, really nervous because I'm like not a like a trained filmmaker, right? So I was given an opportunity to like, why don't you do this ethnographic journey of the River Tista and figure it out? And I think for me, my connection with the river also began with the dam. And it's I'm always my work is inspired from the activism that came from like 2007, and it still is. But it was during that time when I was really kind of making the film. I really felt the river. I journeyed the river right from Cholamu, where the source of River Tista is, going back to Zongu and all the, seeing the same brothers and sisters and the confluence, and then coming back to, the confluence, the Tista and Rangit confluence. So this all journey was not just also about the Lepcha community, but also about other communities and other, occupations that is dependent on the river. And it really, for me, like I remember like when I got this offer, like it was from NWO project. Dr. Deepa Joshi was the one who kind of gave me this opportunity. And most of them were like, why Minkit? Why is she chosen? And I was like, I don't know, why am I chosen? But I went to the river confluence and I sat there very, very nervous. And I asked the river, like, what is it that you want me to say? Because I knew that somewhere deep down inside, I knew that I was chosen not because I am so-called professional, but there is something, but I also didn't know what I have to do. So I asked the river, like, what do you want me to do? But it's not that I saw like a nymph like Dr. Anjali spoke about, but I didn't have anything, but I just sat there. And after that, I started like going, journeying the whole filmmaking for 3 months. And everybody came up across to help me, like they all helped me. Everyone, like, and there are times almost near that experience of our car almost running through the landslide because our areas are like a lot of landslide prone. And we had like a tire coming out of the car and like, like literally woven with a wire and crossing that path. And a lot of those getting sick on high altitude like Cholamu and like thinking that I slept for 15 minutes, but I slept for 2 hours because of the sickness. So those kind of thing happen. But also like that opportunity gave me that whole tracing the voices of Tista, the film. And also like I got a Young Green Filmmaker Award for that. But I was really not really sure of it. Like, is it like, am I like really worthy of that? And I really had a kind of a bit of a, I'm a kind of a shy person, to be honest, but I'm out here speaking for the river is because like I was asked to come out and speak. And and then after that, I went back to the school again and I started showing the children the river, the film, and I asked them, do you know where is River Tista? And they had no answer. They did not know. Like they said, there's near the bridge, it's somewhere near while going there. And and then I realized we never asked like which river do you come from? We always asked where do you come from the land perspective. And that really made me feel like I saw some children were like they liked the film, but they were also not really interested. It was just like any other film, you know? So that really made me feel like what is it that is wrong? Like how is it like the river I felt so deeply and the children are not connected. And because I had been listening to the story, the river folklore, for such a long time from my elders and the shamans, I used that river folklore, river Tista folklore as a medium to educate the children about the local landscape. Because I was in a school, so it was very easy because I used to have a global English classroom. So I had an open, like, I didn't have any lesson plans I could design. Thanks to, I think, Sarin, yeah, I have the Barua's sister, so she is the one, Claude Barua. She helped me design. She helped me, gave me the freedom to do what I want to do. And then during that time, the story, like the story that I was using as a medium kind of gained interest for children, because there were birds, there were snakes, there were like a certain like area. Like there's a place called Pesok, which is very well known if you're coming to like from Sikkim to Darjeeling. That's Pansok in Lepcha. So it's a deep, like dense jungle in Lepcha language. So those kind of, I think, trajectories gave me a like idea of like how I want to use the story as a medium to educate, and that to our ancestral story. And but school is a system, right? So you cannot survive. And so how many children can you really go about it? Then I actually quit my school job. And then I started traveling in India. I think I know Manish Jain and Multiversities because I did a lot of storytelling sessions in almost different parts of India. I went to Nepal, I went to Bangladesh, and also kind of have a lot of online sessions of connecting River Tista story, and also talk about the activism that our communities have been fighting for such a long time. And that really kind of gave me an idea of how the stories can be the medium. And it's not a lesson plan or something that some like a Western person has written about the river, but our own folklore, which is such an interesting ecosystem and a blueprint of the landscape. So I started using, and yeah, from there onwards, I've been curating a lot of workshops, and that's how Dr. Ripandi is a good friend of mine, and she is like a sister. So we have also been co-creating a lot of work. So right now, not only that, I think the main purpose of also is giving the freedom for the community to speak for themselves, and using curating workshops where they speak the story for themselves. And it's not academic, it's not like artistic, but it's simply allowing them to know themselves and telling the story themselves in whatever mediums. So like Living Water Museum with Sarah Ahmed, we did this when we were funded by British Council, a small grant, and that's where Dr. Ripandi and I and a lot of other co-creators, they kind of came in, and then we kind of had like 30 indigenous youth from all across northeast of India, including Darjeeling. All these women, kind of little girls, 18 to from 17, 18 years old to 25. They started like during the COVID, they went and documented. So I'll further that later. But like, yeah, we've done a lot of this work, and I can go on and on. So, but yeah, for now I will stop there. That's what inspired me. Yeah.
Thanks, Minkit. I mean, the passion shows you, the flow is there because the passion is there. So yeah, thanks for sharing this amazing journey and the sacred learnings which you have had over the period of time and the transitions which you've made. I think it's all similar. I mean, Blaze, Minkit, and Dr. Anjali at the age of 69, she went ahead and did. So let's hear from Reef. How's her journey going on?
I just want to be silent like a lake and just listen to all of you right now, because I mean I'm just trying to soak in so many interesting experiences, personal sharing that is happening over here. So I'll just see where this goes. I don't know. I don't know how to frame this, but yeah, like Anam Minki was pointing out, it all started with uh, me studying out of this state, out of Sikkim. So when you are in Sikkim, or when I was in Sikkim, I didn't really notice the water bodies around me. There were rivulets, always played around rivers, always played around streams or any small nala that is there. But never really had that, that connection was there, but never really thought of it at a deeper philosophical level. But after going out of the state, the river, if you have come to Sikkim, or please do if you haven't, you will see that the river accompanies you throughout till the point that you reach Silguri, where you either board the train or take the plane, whatever it is, any mode of transportation. But from Sikkim to West Bengal, it is always by road for most of us. So you will see that the river accompanies you throughout. And I used to feel very nice, and I would always fight with my siblings or fight with the co-passengers to sit on that window side, so I could observe the river, enjoy the breeze. But things started to change, after the damming of the river, whatever Anaminkit was telling about the protest. I was away during that point of time. I was studying in Kolkata. And as a result, my parents also, in a way, to kind of allow me to concentrate in whatever I was doing, shielded me from a lot of information that was happening back home. So then, whenever the journey, I mean, it was always a good journey to come back home, or even a kind of a melancholic, sad journey to leave the state. But as these protests were escalating, as I could see the changes happening to the river, where there were rapids, the river felt like a bloated, I don't know, still entity. And the sadness, it really engulfed me. And the fact that I couldn't express myself during the periods of activism, because there were a lot of repercussions happening to the people who were speaking out. And it didn't just involve the people who were actually speaking, but also the government would also kind of get into your extended relation and then victimize the community. So as a result, I had to silence myself in a lot of ways. And
Okay.
that's when and and that's when I realized that it wasn't just me, but there were several people from my community who were experiencing similar things. And like I was having a conversation in the morning with Anita that this is still a process. This introspection is still ongoing. Like even like Blaze, as you pointed out, it's still ongoing, and the fact that I don't know, the fact that the silencing was so deafening for me, I had to channelize it in some way. So it isn't, on to be very honest, it didn't stem from a very positive kind of an experience that you all have shared right now. I still have a lot of anger in me regarding this, and I always try and now I'm trying to process it and channelizing it through academia. So that's why I was telling Anita that I'm an academist. So through writings, through ways of challenging the research, the way we do research, the way we do how people from different communities, like Dr. Anjali was talking about how she was taken aback when somebody said that, what does it do to you? Like how can you, like, why are you asking me this silly question? So that kind of thing, So how indigenous people are perceived and how they are written about, a lot of silencing has gone into that. And the realization struck very late for me. The level of conditioning was so, that thick layer was there, and a lot of unpeeling had to happen. So I took the step of going into academia. That's the reason why, I mean, my community just last year were felicitating. We are one of the few people from the community who are doctorates. So you can imagine the fact that we are still first generation, second generation learner. So from there only, from how the river was treated, how then I realized that the silencing was not just at that level, but much deeper, philosophical, indigenous knowledge systems being silenced, the ways in which indigenous peoples are being perceived, how difficult it is for them to unsilence or even express themselves. So that's when I started exploring, the different ways of expressing. Even I struggle till date. I struggle with expressing myself. So that's the reason why I've been exploring digital mediums, different ways of expressing, and also with uh, with the help of Anna Mingit, also trying to provide a platform for youngsters, the youth from our community to actually voice themselves. And I'm so happy and I'm so proud to see that they are really good at it. I mean, apart from my generation, Anamika generation, I think the generation that is coming after us, they are quite deft at expressing themselves. So I'm happy to see that. And yeah, I basically am still struggling with how to go about it, trying to provide as many platforms as possible for my community to speak out and speak wherever they can and however they can, and speak from the heart. So yeah, that's about me, and how I came into this field, and where I am currently. So the journey continues.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
quite
amazing.
it's quite powerful, the journeys. I mean, whether I mean, I have been an activist all my life. I was studying to be a chartered accountant, and then I saw the manipulations of numbers being done, the data being done by these chartered accountants, and my heart couldn't take it. And I think I have a very justice streak in me, which I just went one fine day and told my father, I don't want to be a CA. I mean, that's been the dream which I was dreaming for forever, that I want to be a CA. And one fine day when it was coming closer, I just couldn't accept that this can be done. And I just became a human rights activist. Next day, the course came out in Dehradun. That was the first ever human rights course being offered, 11-month full-time course in association with Vishwabharata Shanti Niketan. I just enrolled in that. And it gave me wings, it empowered me. And after that, going to JNU, became a student activist there, and then went to work with the tribals. But one thing which which you all are saying, Minkit, you also said, and you said, Blaze, you also said, somewhere this entire notion of development, entire notion of the narrative of ours, who's writing it? Because I was working for the NGO sector for quite some time, and I just couldn't take it. It was so suffocating sitting in the conference halls in the Habitat Center or anywhere else, deciding for the tribes. Who are we to decide on that? We were not, were we seriously authentic, with great sincerity and authenticity? Are we really represented their voices? So these voices have to decide for themselves, because the entire nation of this development sector, it was very frustrating for me. And then I couldn't, it was, so somewhere the real voice was getting lost behind all these NGO banners, which was very suffocating, and I went into. So that got me to Orwell, into self-activism now. But yes, and then I mean, with the work, with the rivers, with the water, I think it's very powerful. You discover your own self first. Unless and until I'm not able to discover myself, how can I actually, it's a very simple saying, no? You help yourself first, then we jump into it. But very empowering stories and very narrative. I'm so glad that I'm here, able to meet all of you, and we are talking about it. So let's move further ahead, and we can go into the second round of questions. So everybody talks about the teaching, the youngsters, the what I learned and all. How do you see that with the kind of work which each one of us are doing? What is the learning process you would define that we should take it forward? That how we can create these learning spaces, how others can create these learning spaces, looking at, with all our journeys, with taking all our the learnings from our journeys, what is it that we can create these waterversities, small spaces, small, powerful, effective spaces, which which are contextual, like Minkit, you said you were talking about river, and these kids didn't know that, So, I mean, it's a dream that, for me, that you study your own basic river first. And then, because I do a lot of river journeys, and when I propose them to some schools and all, so everybody talks about Ganga, Narmada, Kaveri. I said, no, let's do the river in which your zone comes first. Let's do that river first, and then we can always do Nile and Amazon and Ganga and other rivers. But let's study because India being such a vast country, and I think each and every part of the land is covered by some or the other riparian zone. So this can be a very, very powerful medium to take it forward. So yes, so how do we create these learning spaces? How others can create these learning spaces? Let's dive into that. Anjali ji got, I think she got dropped out of the call. No, she's here, back. So yeah, so whosoever wants to start, please.
Okay. I was just going to say that these, I call them unlettered women who I spoke to on this journey from Gangotri to Haridwar. They have so much wisdom, traditional wisdom. I don't use the word indigenous. They have so much traditional wisdom about the river and how to keep the river clean. So it is the urbanization and the development process that is really sort of polluting the river, because so many buildings and so many dharamsalas and so many homes have come up along the river without maintaining the dictum of, not building 1 kilometer away from the river. So none of these strictures are taken seriously by the communities, or by not only by the community, but by the people who come from outside to make their homes over there. So a lot of this has happened. And when I spoke to the women, when they started singing about, I asked them, how does the song become such a good entry point for understanding the river? Because there are many ways. I could have just spoken to them and said, where does your river flow from? What relationship do you have with the river? But they reiterated that the song has different aspects. So they are the ones who gave me these 5 themes on which my work was based. The first was that the song talks about the journey of the river and the worship of the river. There are many songs, and all this I've been able to decipher through song, not through surveys, not through any kind of data analysis. So the song itself talks about the worship of the river, the journey of the river. Then there were some songs that talk about women's integral relationship with water. How does she look at the water? How does she use the water? What is the agriculture around? Does she use the water of the river for irrigation? What is her relationship, symbiotic relationship with the river? How does she see that she does not pollute the river, which she worships and she revers? And what does she do about it? And then there were songs about the damming of the Ganga River and the creation of the Tiri Dam, wherein 125 villages were submerged and people were displaced. Now, how do we know the impact of displacement on people's lives? We can decide to make a dam so that it provides electricity to urban centers and metropolitans like Delhi. But what does it do to a human person whose home has been submerged in the water and they are displaced and given matchbox-like houses? So there is, really we have to question the development process in the context of the river, because so much is happening today, and it is their wisdom which pointed out all this to me. Then there were songs about migration. There were songs about that people have left their homes. Where will the dove sing today? The trees are barren. The climate change has happened. The songs are so rich in conveying the different aspects of the river that you have to just listen to them, and they rever the river like a mother. The women who stay in Mukwa, which is her natal home. So they sing this song, Ganga Meri Pyari Ma, Bhagwati Tu Dani Vajaya. You are my beloved mother, O Ganga. May you be benevolent on everybody who comes near you. So one day I saw a grandmother crossing the river. She took out her chappals on one side of the bridge and then she walked barefoot on the river. And her granddaughter was wearing jeans and Nike shoes and she didn't do anything. She just walked like that. So I asked the woman, why did you take out your chappals on the river? She said, "Maa ke upar koi chappal pehen ke thodi chal sakta hai." And when I spoke to her granddaughter, she said, "Oh, you know what? I can outsource, I can order Ganga water online. I have no relationship with it." So what is happening is that, we are talking about creating learning spaces. The spaces are already endangered. And our intangible heritage is already endangered with the advent of media and urbanization and what is taking over social media. So we have to take all this in a capsule. And what I have done is that the songs that I have collected, I have made them into small booklets for the children of Uttarakhand. So only the songs are in that book, because my book is 650 pages with all the narratives and all the interviews woven in of people and the translation of the song. So these little booklets, these are called Gungunati Ganga. There are 50 songs in each book. They've been translated from the Garhwali to the Hindi, and these are to be distributed. Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts is going to distribute these little booklets to all the schools in Uttarakhand so that the children can sing about their beloved river. And so these are some ideas for creating spaces.
Lovely. Thank you, Anjali ji. And yes, I can order Ganga Jal online.
So that's another perspective, no?
Yeah, that's another perspective. But yes, amazing. I mean, these songs as an entry point of learning. I mean, the entire wisdom is there.
In the song.
Yes, in the song.
It's so rich. I wish.
Yes.
I mean, I could sing more, but there's no hardly any
Yeah,
time. Anyway.
we will keep singing. Blaze, we already heard your, making paint from the soil, and that's so amazing. So
see, actually, in my workshops or even community-based engagements, I look at who are these communities, So the individual is the starting point. I am the community first, because the core of African philosophy is I am because we are, and that in that we there is the other human beings and river, mountains, ocean, and forests, and all kinds of creatures. Everything is there, and even ancestors, spirits, and everything. The myths, and we have been taught to believe that I think, therefore I exist. What a foolish idea, I would say. So in that process, the individual, has become wounded. How humanity is wounded, and the nature within us also is wounded. And without recognizing that woundedness within us, we are talking about saving the planet, save the earth. Children are taught to make those ugly posters, save the planet, make some mountains and then write, save the planet. George Carlin, the stand-up comedian, I mean, Earth has been there, planet has been there for millions of years. You came just the other day. Probably you have come to make plastic. Your time is out. So save yourself. So there is a disconnect in the individuals of modernity. It's a wounded individual. Nature is wounded. And unless I recognize that, I can't see the woundedness in the planet. So my process is actually about recognizing that woundedness in myself. So I'm not engaging to change anybody. For me, my vulnerability, my woundedness is always in front of me. And this community-based engagement is probably the only way I can address that. Because I'm alone, I find it difficult. So every time I engage with the community, talking about or experiencing, slowing down and experiencing this woundedness, it brings more healing to me. And it confirms that the opposite, or the make-believe systems that I've grown up with is not actually worth attempting at. So that's what I've been actually, and I'm trying to create that sort of conversational spaces. Like from 2018, I've been the director of the Art by Children program, which is one of the main vertical programs of Kochi Binale Foundation, Kochi Musiris Binale. So I started a space called Art Room, which is a non-competitive, non-judgmental, fearless space. the last edition, the first edition, I was focusing more on children. And then I realized that children are anyway creative. You know? I don't need to focus too much on children. So then during pandemic, it was something called learning at home, which was addressing families. So in 4 batches, we addressed around 120 families across India and Kerala. And in that process, it was about addressing your own immediate context. There's so many things to address, so many subtleties. Our education system actually doesn't allow us to, stay, be present to the subtleties. You're talking about largeness, large things, large institutions, big numbers, large statues, and large governance. And all of them are confused and probably failure also. I mean, I'm not talking about failure and success because every failure is also about another possibilities. So possibilities and processes, a process that allow us to engage with possibilities in ourselves and in the entire context. So when it was open to adults, a lot of people came and asked me, why is it that we don't have non-competitive, non-judgmental spaces in our cities? Because if you look at the spaces for adults, they're all about validation and proving themselves. And most of the people are suffocated. They're not even able to breathe properly. And unless we have breathing spaces, how can we address the woundedness in ourselves? And then the rivers will keep disappearing. More dams will appear. Forests will disappear because most of the policymakers are really wounded internally, bleeding problem, and they are not able to see that. And we are also byproducts of that. So I keep engaging. Right now, I'm at the Srishti College, and we are doing interim project. I was with a small group of students, just looking at very unorganized way, with not great systems, just addressing or allowing ourselves to be present to the communities that are around us, the individual, the classroom, the peers as a community, the non-human community, the biodiversity, the dogs, and then the college, and then the immediate neighborhood, all that. So there actually we have to talk about soil and water and plants and everything. And we don't need too much of information. Actually. It's just more than the information, it's the presence that the starting point. Then it's up to the individual if we need more information. But presence is mostly denied to us. The ability to be present to our neighbor, to the other, to look into the eyes of the other, to stand under the spell of the other, as Raymond Panikar, the great theologian, said. So beautiful. And to stand under the spell of the other, I need to experience the spell within myself. Then I can see that, oh, you're also equally beautiful. And automatically my response will be collaboration, not competition. Children are not competitive. They're by nature collaborative. And so where did we lose our collaborative aspirations? So then we need some learning societies and conference and all to undo. Then by the time we do that, we are already 40 plus. Then it's funny. So that's my take on it. And I don't know how, like, people who participate in these processes, I'm sure something happens to them. They carry it in their own way because I've done so many workshops, but I'm not able to keep a track of. Many of them are in touch with me, so that means it's probably they all resonate with the same. But I'm not really accountable to what they do in their personal life. So I'm not here to take the responsibility of changing the world.
Yeah. We can work as catalysts. or just
I'm actually, I don't even name it. It's just not naming is better actually.
yes.
Because naming
Yeah.
also very complicated, too many names. So I tell my participants or people who I engage with to take out the labels, then it's more freeing. So I do action songs and cooperative games and all, just to take out the labels, because most of us adults carry so much of burden with the labels that we carry. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, where did we lose that simplicity in learning?
Yeah.
Somewhere
Yeah,
down
I
the line.
suppose colonial mindset is about perfection. Those terms came from there. You know, capitalism also talks about perfection, but they also don't know what is perfect. Nobody knows, and why do we need perfection?
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
so yeah, so somebody was saying the other day, when I read the difference between the actual original painting of a great artist, say for example Michelangelo, and the reproduction of that in AI, is that AI will produce perfect painting, but Michelangelo's will be imperfect. So I think there's always an urge for human beings to have that imperfection. You know? Otherwise, there's no fun and there's no meaning in life.
Thanks, please, for sharing such a powerful, yeah. I mean, we're talking about macro, but where's the micro?
Yeah.
I mean, the amalgamation of the micro, which ultimately makes the macro, but everybody's chasing that macro, the large, the globalization. We live in a globalized world. But where's the contextual world? Where's my context, my local context where I am? So important. Thank you so much. Yes, Reap and Minkit, your work. We don't have time. We are running against the time.
Yeah.
So let's take.
Should I go or should
Yeah,
you?
yeah, please. We would love to hear.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, looking at everything that we have been talking about, and I guess it's, of course, not an easy question to answer, whatever Anita put up. And what we have been doing and what everybody seems to be doing is at a personal level. And I feel that that is definitely a starting point. The fact that we have come together to build an understanding and ecosystem, that is again a very positive starting point. And of course, I'm sure this will keep rolling, and eventually we will be having an ecosystem, a larger ecosystem where we have more conscious minds developing understanding of waterversities, developing their own relationship and reconnecting with their roots and understanding their own surroundings at a much deeper level. So as far as Anaminkit and I am concerned, I'd just like to share the most recent workshop that we had done. It's on clan stories. And over there also, I'm not sure whether it exists with the other communities, but when it comes to the lepchas, we have this ritual of chu lep and the. That means every clan has a sacred lake, a sacred cave, and a sacred mountain or a peak that we have to worship annually. So that is how how our ancestors have been keeping that strong relationship and that attachment with whatever we have. And it is not just in terms of land and water, but also in terms of the animals around us. If you get to hear any of the clan stories, then you will see that it is definitely multi-species, multi-deities, and it's beyond the human. It's beyond the focus goes beyond anthropocentric kind of a lens. So I feel when it comes to the workshop, we were again collectively trying to provide a collaborative sort of an environment, or say a safe space where community members could speak out, a space where, because like technology can be a boon and a bane. When it comes to youngsters, they are quite deft at it, but technology has taken them away from their elders. So we were trying to bridge that as well. So we all had participants from the same clan who was an elder from the clan, and then somebody younger from the same clan. So some of the youngsters didn't know their own clan stories. So in the duration of the workshop, they were able to document it together, talk to each other, communicate, and also express it through the medium of comics, for which we had a brilliant facilitator from Karbi? No.
Kokrajhar.
Oh, yeah, Kokrajhar.
Kokrajhar. Amrit Basumatari.
Amrit Basumatari from Kokrajhar. So grassroots comics, through the mediums of comics, we saw the elders also struggle trying to draw their uh, comics, and similarly we saw the younger ones also struggling to kind of say, no, do it this way, or maybe we should do it this way. So we were trying to build that space where they could communicate with each other. We were also trying to see whether they could reconnect with their own clan stories. And then, of course, it was also decolonizing the space, or decolonizing this idea of a workshop, how a workshop should be. So we started off with a ritual. We started off by remembering our ancestors. We started off with a shamanistic a ritual, a very short invocation of our ancestors, of the local deities, to help us through this days of workshop. And then we concluded it again with a shaman who would thank the deities. And in between, we also had this time where we walked up to the sacred lake of that area in Higatang, that is Tungkyungdo, which is Tungkyung Lake, which is now a biodiversity, I think, heritage site. It has been declared as a heritage site. So we just had the quiet. We didn't talk at that point. We just, Anna Menkit was leading the session, and she just asked everybody to quietly walk up to the lake. And then after that, just express themselves in whatever way they could. And they were given papers and pens. Of course, we should have thought of Blaze and how he works with soil, and we should have asked them to do that, but maybe next time. But at that point of time, we handed them crayons and sketch pens and allowed them to express themselves. So, I mean, and of course, it's intergenerational trauma that we are handling at this point. And it's so important to factor that in, and the fact that we are trying our level best, the understanding is there. Of course, we were overshooting our time like we are doing today, but it is required at times. So yeah, so I guess these sort of workshops also work out in trying to understand our own, regardless of whether it's the different elements around us, or the nature around us, or the philosophies ingrained in us through our folklores and ritual practices, or even just that reconnection. I think that prompt is required at times, and I hope that all of us can continue doing whatever we are doing, and in our own respective ways contribute to spreading, I wouldn't say awareness. I mean, I hesitate like label, so
Yeah.
but I would definitely, I mean, reconnecting, helping other souls reconnect. you know I think there's nothing more beautiful than that, where you can actually hug each other and just wail, bawl our eyes out, which was happening. So just letting the river flow. uh, so even those kind of things are required. And I think Anaminkit, with her guidance and with the help of the community who came together collectively to achieve it, I think we were able to make a dent somewhere, to the point that there were members who were coming up to us and asking us to replicate the model in other villages as well. So these are things that we will be exploring in the future, and we're hoping that we can just share whatever we know, and also learn at the same time whatever other people have to offer. So I think sharing and exchanging of knowledge is very important at this point, if we are to think of how we can actually come up with a solution for making a conscious society. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
I guess we are running out of time. So I mean, I think Rip has already done amazing work on explaining the clan workshop, but I just like Blaze and Dr. Anjali has been talking so well about. I just wanted to put few words. One is I deeply feel like self-reflection, not just in terms of like doing the project, but allowing the people to self-reflect is the beginning of probably talking about Waterversities or any way of learning, because I guess that allows us to like silence our voice within us, because there's a lot of voice which we are have inside us, and we need to really dim it down to really understand our presence and the nowness that we are talking about. And the second part of it is our one of the ideas colonization that we talk about, but like it's also acknowledging the knowledge, the traditional knowledge and the indigenous knowledge, and these comes in the form of communities. But there are times when I've also seen like people have written a lot about indigenous people, but they are also the one who is opening the door in the mall for you. It's just a basic respect for the people who is actually migrated in cities and like big places, and they are in doing this like migration work, right? Like the one who opens the toilet door in the mall room. Sometimes I feel they all are like people coming from these villages, and a basic respect for them. And the third part of it is also like finding ways for the community to speak in a way that they connect within themselves, because our communities are broken, not just in terms of colonization, not just in terms of education system. The politics does not really find ways to divide us as a community. Like I'm from Darjeeling and Rip is from Sikkim, but we are from two different states with two different policies, and we are actually like I'm like so we are same but we are different because of the policies. So in order to address that, we really have to like really get down into the families and try to find mediums to talk, not just with the youth but also from the elders and the youth having a space to talk with one another, because the first thing that should come is from home. And when the home has a safe space, then you can really work for the environment, for the community. But we struggle within our community, our families, because our elders, some of them understand, some of them don't understand, young doesn't understand. So these are different parameters where we have to find spaces within our learning system where we engage with elders and youth coming together as a family, because we have our own struggle, how we have like tried to find our ways to speak about the river within the family. So I guess that's a very important part that we need to talk about or address it. And though we talk about the intergenerational trauma, we also need to celebrate the intergenerational knowledge, the knowledge that we have passed on, our resilience, our way to speak. In spite of the hurdles, our that ray of light and hope that we talk about is coming from our spirit, like within us. Our body is a temple. So, like this kind of things are self-reflection, and it's very very important. And also finding the like there are a lot of ways that teachings come in, and not having in terms of pockets, but understanding the value of process and not the output, because our colonial mindsets have really defined that output is the success, but output can be the process also. And the clan workshop was not just about them making the comic book, but the process and what happened during the process and how they changed and what made them happen. That itself is an output. Same thing with the Living Water Museum, with which we did with Re-Meeting the Roots. Their children, like the youth, were all these women. They must have gone and like some of them got married, have their own life and all that. But the process, that little trajectory of that engagement, that gave them a connection to the river, I think that is the output, I feel, and that we need to celebrate that. And these are new ways of education, or finding ways to like celebrate the learning, I guess. So I guess this is what I wanted to say. I don't want to keep it too long, but yeah.
Yeah, so rightly said that, we need to celebrate. We need to celebrate each and every moment what we are doing, and because it's so important. I think over the period of time, we've forgotten how to celebrate these little
Yes.
simple joys of life. So yeah, thank you for sharing. And here we have very interesting I wish we could go on and go on because it's such an interesting topic, but time limits us. But we have somebody from Loka here, and it is a learning space. Why don't you switch on your video and audio so that we can all hear you?
First of all, good evening to all.
Good evening.
Thank you for inviting us. So we are from Loka. I think Anita ma'am knows better about us. So later maybe she can explain more. We would also like to share because we also belong from, we also live beside a river. It's called a Punpun River. In past, I think you may all know that its name was Punah Punah, means again and again. So basically this river is very deeply connected to us because in our village and our parents are a small scale farmer, and for farmer water is very essential because if there will be no water there will be no food. So it's very like a livelihood for us, this river. And from last Saturday we are also like cleaning our village, and we have cleaned the bank of the like river, and we are thinking how we can like what we have, so we have control on now. We can't go like conserve the past, but what we have now, how can we like conserve it? So we are thinking that how we can we have last Saturday we have cleaned the bank of our Purmo river and there is some space. So how we can make that a space useful, and like we can sit there and meditate. But it's a long process, but we are also working little bit on this, that we are cleaning our village inspired by I think last session Waterversity.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And they have been with us throughout in all the webinar series, and they were sharing. I think Rajendra bhai ने भी आपको story बताया था पुनपुन river का कि
Yes,
क्या
ma'am.
है. So I mean, these are amazing, inspiration when you see these youngsters and you see them around. You feel it, I mean, the source of energy, and the river flows. The river is actually flowing, so we must celebrate that. So yeah, I
And
mean,
today,
it's been a very, very powerful and powerful session for me, I guess. हाँ,
yes,
आप
ma'am.
कुछ बोल रहे थे?
I think today we all need to be as alive as like river, then we can understand its feeling. Otherwise, we can't.
I think he said the last words, what have to be spoken in this session.
Yes,
Yeah.
we need to be as alive as a river. Then only
Yeah.
we can feel it.
Yeah. So how did you all find this session? I mean, just last one word, and we take it forward in other series, and I'm sure that we will meet again and again, and our path will cross again in this journey of self-discovery and the flow of the river. So Anjali ji, how was your experience to be with us here?
I would like to sum it up by one word: listening. It's amazing. I mean, all my work is based on listening. And today I listened to Blaze. I listened with full presence to Reap. I listened with full presence to Minkit. And I unlearned and learned so much. It's been a beautiful sharing. And I think we really should have more sessions like this.
Thank you. Blaze, can you hear?
Yeah. So it was very beautiful. It is beautiful to be in the presence of all of you, and I think I can see connections and even collaborations. I would love to actually engage with the Deep and Minket in your, or even Loka, because Punpun, I've been in Bihar for many years, so Bihar also is like a second home for me. So I am already like seeing the possibilities of engaging. Yeah, it's beautiful. The deep sharings and
Yes,
stories.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Reep.
I am like still soaking in a lot of information, and I was feeling so emotional when, as soon as Anjali ma'am started talking about her dream, because I also believe in all of that. And Anaminkit and we keep sharing dreams between the two of us. As soon as we dream about each other, we're like, are you okay? So yeah, a lot of, I mean, this sharing was on a different level. So I'm glad that I've been a part of it, and I thank Anita and Anaminkit for inviting me to be a part of it. And I hope this continues. I think this
Yes.
is a beginning point, so I hope it continues.
Yeah. I like Blaze. See, I also feel that I can already see the collaborations and way forward with connecting to each other. Minkit.
Yeah. So I think it's very, for me, like I said, I began by saying I don't feel very lonely, like, just like to have similar people with doing similar stuff. And I also feel like looking at, like, my dear friends and, from Loka, like they are the future generation. And I was just speaking with Reep about, like, sometimes it can be painful to work with the communities and people, but I think when we think about people like people from Loka, or our future generation, the young ones who's coming, and the elders who never could pass
Answered
down.
as well. And
Yeah. Yes, yeah. So the elders and the who never could pass down the knowledge because of different trajectories. I guess it's for them, this work, because it kind of came with a lot of struggle, with our own personal struggle. But this kind of really gives me hope, and a lot of, like, people are there, friends are there, allies are there to help us put that knowledge there. And we are bridges, really, and a transient one. We are not permanent, and we are just like a channel, or probably the medium. So I just feel beautiful to meet this beautiful rainbow, to be honest. We are just going to be.
Thank you.
Rightly said.
Thank you. Lovely way to end.
Yeah.
Rainbow.
Love.
Rainbow in
Love.
the sky. Thank you so
Oh,
much,
yes.
Anita. Thank you.
So yeah, so I mean, I've started with these webinar series, I've started writing again, so it feels so good. So I'll just at the end just read out. Upon the river's winding flow, a sacred journey starts to flow, not just to see, but to become, to learn, to lead, to find our home.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so
much,
much.
everyone.
Like to
Thank
get
you.
your
Great
book,
day.
Anjali's
Bye,
book.
Minkit. Bye,
And
Blaze.
Anjali's
Yeah,
book.
Anjali's
Yes.
book.
Please.
And
Yeah, so
River,
on
can you
the
share the name of the book by Anjali in the group, by
River,
WhatsApp group?
River sings.
River Sings.
Sings.
Yeah,
It's,
I'll
it's
share the details,
yeah,
or maybe we can make a WhatsApp group among us, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
we can
yeah.
just
And
That'll
we'll
be
just
nice.
share the Living Water Museum work of ours. So
Yes,
Yes,
that
yes, I
sounds
would
so
like to,
interesting.
Yeah,
Yes,
let's just make a WhatsApp group
yes,
Small,
I'll do
among
that.
4 of us. Just 4
I'll
of
do,
us. 5
I'll
of
do,
us.
Bye,
Huh?
bye.
I'll do that.
Even
That'll be
me, what
nice.
do you mean? How can you
Yeah,
keep me
Kalashri,
out
we
of
won't
it?
leave you.
Kala
I
also. Kala.
forgot to thank Kalashri. I'm so sorry.
Thanks,
no,
Kala.
Kala.
Thank
Very
you
Without
for
her,
thank you
nothing
so
was
much.
connecting us.
possible.
Yes, yes.
And of course, the Punpun River folk
Yes.
along with us, so we will join.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
please
Thank
keep
you.
keep a watch out for the upcoming series and join as participants, because there'll be a lot of great sharing. I think
Okay.
we have a bit of a break for now for Christmas and New Year's, and then we will resume
After
in a
2
couple of
weeks, we
weeks.
again resume.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
morning. Bye.